Oh, hello there, yes. Bit of a frustrating day yesterday. I spent essentially the entire morning jumping through a series of software-related hoops that the company I work for, or one of them anyway, had set me, only to discover once I'd finally sorted it all out that they hadn't delivered any IT equipment to the young person I was supposed to be working with. That was fun. Yes, anyway, I thought I'd therefore let off a bit of steam by having a go at Connor Tomlinson. Can do that again. Why? Well, possibly because I can do, but mainly because I think he's representative of some of the very, very nasty things in British media, and indeed some of the global media as well. And, we'll have a look at the piece that he's written in The Critic, which is all about how dreadful it is to be a bloke these days. Dreadful. And then we'll come on to why I think it's a major issue. Not just for Connor, but for the rest of us as well. Okay, it's entitled Let Men Speak for Men. Women's voices have dominated the debate around men's issues. Yes, indeed, they have, haven't they? Because it's called feminism, Connor. It's been happening since the 80s. I mean, you've got Rowbottom and Anne Oakley. Yeah, I can remember them from when I was doing my degree. That was a long time ago, mate. Anyway, let's see what the problem is. This should surprise nobody. The share of men who report no intimate partners has tripled within a decade. 15% report having no friends either. Many men endure a crippling sense of indifference to their existence that women with closer friendship circles, cultural empowerment and a deluge of online male attention find completely alien. Yes, there you go. Nice binary view of the sexes there. It's not in any way, shape or form that both sexes have problems with mental health. No, women get over that because they're women, because they've got fallopian tubes or something. Anyway, I think Connor is basically talking about himself there. Yes, for all his defrauding and porn-peddling faults, Tate's message resonates because he acknowledges the indifference to the world of men. He commands them to prove themselves through hard work and in combat. As Ember told Vox, if the progressive left is like, we're not going to tell you that, just be a good person, you don't need rules, and then young men are like, no, I'm really asking you, I really want rules actually, then those who make the rules will rule the hearts of men. Yes, you see, the basic problem is that Connor wants to live in a nice ordered universe with set rules, and he can't because the communists, like me presumably, won't let him. He wants a nice ordered world. I think located somewhere in about 1954. Better make it pre-Elvis, eh? Yes, that's what he's after. And it's all the lefties' fault that there's even more misogyny than there was before. Yeah, it's all their fault. Yes, anyway, so his solutions. First, women could set measured expectations for men to earn relationships with them. This requires that they not compete with men with the same criteria for what men think makes an eligible mate. Liberal capitalism is what Powell calls sibling society, where men and women share unisex workspaces, social settings, and cohabitate at higher rates than in history. Come on to that. At loggerheads for the same resources, opportunities, and forms of empowerment. We're more like Cain and Abel than Adam and Eve. In competition with each other, we're more alike and therefore less attracted to each other than any before. Possibly. I mean, at least he's located a bit of a problem with the economy, but the thing is, though, that it's historically inept, isn't it? It's people actually live together less now than they have in the past, Connor. There wasn't a nirvana state, even probably in the Garden of Eden, you know, that thing you believe in, when men and women had these vastly defined roles. And maybe if you actually read something that was kind of like a proper book and not just something that Ben Shapiro thinks you should read, you would know that. Try some sociology, try some social history, just some history, mate. But the past wasn't like that. Sorry. Moving on. This exacerbates sex differences at the end of distribution scales. These extremely malformed the natural hyperregamy, I can't even pronounce that word, women have when selecting a man to settle down with. Yeah, you see, it's all sex determined. The 666 rule, feet, income and inches, I think that's not 6 feet, I think it's height. Anyway, makes the dating pool so shallow that high-earning, attractive women are left without many marriageable prospects. Hence why marriage is increasingly reserved for the rich. Right. No. Sorry, Connor, but, more people get married now, if you want to count the last 40 years, than they ever have done in history. Marriage is still a very, very, very popular institution, not just amongst the rich. You mean something else. And again, you're talking about yourself, mate. Something has gone awry when dating sites report that women find 8% of men below average in attractiveness. Yes, because we live in a highly commercialized society. That's where the economy comes in, Connor. It's called capitalism. That's what it is. Women have had this as part of their lives for, I don't know, at least 100 years, if not more. Now, blokes are suffering from this as well, because that's what capitalism does. It tends to make people equally miserable. And again, if you actually read more in terms of actual proper learned books, then you would know this. You're going to reject it anyway, but there you go. This statistical impossibility is a consequence of skewed perceptions. As Harrington urges, the formula for a successful relationship is to pick someone good enough who will show up when it counts. Yes, and you speak to any woman, and try it, Connor. Speak to any woman, and they will accept that that's what life is. And speak to any reasonable adult bloke. Could try that for a change, don't mean Carl. Yeah, you would actually find that most blokes are the same. Yeah, that's what life is. Life is pragmatic, granted, okay? We don't see life through the prism of being 15. And part of the problem with modern capitalism is it does tend to throw up an awful lot of 30-something blokes in their bedrooms screaming at the world because they've got to use pronouns in a game, or whatever it might be. The latest Disney film, whatever it might be, yeah? That's a consequence. If you read some Gramsci, you might actually get your head around that. Or, God forbid, something from the Frankfurt School, let's say, you might actually understand these things. But of course, you're not going to do that, because that would be communism. Women are rightfully apprehensive of the physical risks posed by being approached by strange men. A culture which presumes guilt for an awkward advance, or, as I told on Piers Morgan, words, says men should be frightened, discourages the majority of good men from meeting women who say they want to be approached. It would go a long way to show a little more understanding of the courage men must face to summon to face the Gorgon stare of potential rejection. Yeah, women being worried about men being violent towards them. Well, the only reason that men are violent towards them is because they fear rejection. So what women need to do with potentially violent people is not reject them. Try and get your head around that particular bit of logic if you can. Moving on. Most of all, women should be more receptive to men's suggestions as to how to let us fix our problems ourselves. A lot of feminist writing since the 80s has been doing that, Connor. Try some. Kelly J. Keane, oh dear God, has valiantly thought to let women speak, voicing concerns about men entering their protected sex-segregated spaces. On matters concerning men, we'd quite like the chance too. Yes, well, I don't know, Connor, sit round with some actual blokes and actually come up with something that doesn't involve the rest of society changing for you. That's the basic argument that he has here. He will happily say, oh, there's nothing wrong with men, it's all them lefties and them women, yeah? Neatly feeds into, what's that word that begins with M, whereby you just don't like what women are? Anyway, that one, yeah, it just sort of feeds into that somewhat, doesn't it? Now, the problem I have with this, okay, is that Connor comes from a space whereby ideologically he just doesn't like women. He goes on various marches which are about women's issues, which I really, someone who grew up in the 80s and was politicised in the 80s thinks that that's a bit dodgy, especially wearing those trousers. I mean, what's wrong with a kilt, eh? What's wrong with a kilt, boy, eh? Yes. And of course, he gets a platform. This is the major thing that I'm railing or ranting about. It's probably ranting, isn't it? But he gets a platform for this stuff like it's something sensible. Yeah? That we should fix new laws in society to make him happier and make him magically more attractive to women. My top tip, apart from the trousers thing, would be don't go on podcasts with known apologists for rape and then start spouting off about comics. It's not very attractive, Connor. Try speaking to people like a human being. All right? There aren't rules to it, mate. Okay? Yeah? You got to find it your own way. Okay? Just once in your life, deal with the world as it is. Okay? And it isn't some John Wayne stereotype. Yeah, I know, it makes me feel old. Anyway, do have a lovely Wednesday. It's going to be a warm one, yeah.